Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everyone's doing well. Back today with another video, and this time I'm going back to my existing CD collection. So I haven't done one of these videos in quite some time, as you know. That's just because there's been contests and threads and collection updates and so on. But anyway, returning to that today. So you may recall that in my last existing CD collection video, I did a 70s Kiss ranking. So guess what? Today I'm doing an 80s Kiss ranking. So covering all of the albums, Kiss albums from the 1980s. And they're all on CD, except this is going to double up kind of as a collection video and a ranking, because I thought I'd make it more interesting. I can obviously just show the albums, but I'd like to rank these in order just for fun. And I did that for the 70s as well. So just about that. With two of the albums, I don't own them on CD, I only have them on vinyl, so I hope you don't mind, sure you won't, but just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to include those vinyls just so I can do the ranking of the albums. But yeah, that's how it's going to go, and I will say this just before we start, I do like all of the albums that I'm showing today, with the exception of maybe one, but I think even the album which comes at the bottom has some worthwhile songs. So as always, I know maybe some people don't care about Kiss. Like, I know a lot of people who follow this channel, they didn't seem too interested in the 70s Kiss ranking, so that tells me that most subscribers don't like Kiss, but some of you do, that's great. But I will say this, that you may find that if you watch and learn today, you might actually discover there are some good Kiss albums from the 80s, because that's when they went in more of a metallic direction, so you might want to give them a chance if you haven't already. Yeah, and also in addition to that, if you disagree with my ranking, that's fine. You can comment, leave your ranking in the comments. But yeah, remember, it's all subjective and it would be boring if we were all the same. So what I'm going to do is rank them from least favorite to most favorite. So 8 albums in the 1980s, including the actual year 1980, which was Unmasked. So it was quite a prolific period for the band, and tumultuous as well, because there were a few lineup changes. So anyway, let's get into it. So coming in at number 8, and this is probably no surprise for most people, is The Elder from 1981. Yeah, so you may have heard me talking about this album before, saying that I found it a terrible album in my collection. So that was a video from a few years ago, like a theme that was running. Yeah, this is easily my least favorite Kiss album of all time, not just in the 80s. Then again, it does rival, a close rival to this one would be Monster from 2012, the band's last one, for the contender for the worst album by the band. But having said that, I said in the past that this is a terrible album. I'll just preface that by saying this album has grown on me a little bit lately, so I don't absolutely hate it, but it's still easily my least favorite. So if you're not familiar, this was by the time when Peter Criss, the drummer, the Catman, had already left the band. He had been replaced by Eric Carr on drums. Eric Carr, the Fox, incredible drummer. But unfortunately, their producer, Bob Ezrin, discarded their hard rock demos and told them, no, what you should do is write a rock opera, apparently. So that's what this album is. So it's a concept album. It was supposed to be the soundtrack for a movie which never eventuated. Correct me if I'm wrong there. And the funny thing about this is that it's supposed to tell a story, but they mixed all the tracks in a random order to make the album, sound like an album. So it doesn't follow a coherent storyline. But yeah, that's just a bit of background about the band, but about this album. But I think it was mostly the fault of producer Bob Ezrin, because he told the band to discard the idea of going back to their hard rock roots. He said, if you write a rock opera album, you'll get respect from the critics for being artistic and everything, which was not really what Kiss was about. They were a fan for the masses, in my opinion, so they should have just stuck to their guns. But Bob Ezrin did have a massive coke problem at the time, so that quite possibly clouded his judgment in the making of this album. But yeah, the reason I don't like it all that much is it just doesn't sound like Kiss. It's very sort of pompous and grandiose, with a lot of like classical arrangements and harps and things like that. And that's nothing against that music in general, but it's just not what you're expecting from Kiss. But having said that, there are a few songs which do grab me though, like just examples of that really sort of pompous sound are the opening track, Just a Boy, and Odyssey, like very pompous indeed. However, they do display Paul's vocal abilities very well, but it's just not classic Kiss. And then yeah, there's a couple of songs which I find okay, but nothing special. Like Only You is alright, Gene's vocals are good on that. A track that I find really annoying is the last track, because it's just one of those insipid, boring Kiss tracks where it's like, it's catchy, but it's just drab and not all that interesting to me. But yeah, having said that, there are some good songs, like Under the Rose has grown on me massively, even if that is a bit pompous and grandiose. Dark Light is the song sung by Ace, so he was still in the band at this point, and that was co-written with Lou Reed. But yeah, Ace's vocals, such a great song in general, which is really good. Then what else is there? Oh yeah, A World Without Heroes, the Gene ballad. A lot of people hate that song, but I actually really like Gene's voice in that. It shows his softer, more somber side. So yep, there you go. And The Oath, fantastic track. Like very sort of like a powerful and gung-ho track, but explosive and energetic, and I really like Paul's vocals in that. And Mr. Blackwell, another Gene track, that's really good. Escape from the Island is just one of those meh tracks, because it's just like an instrumental. So you can see that I don't find this album absolutely terrible, but there are about 3 songs which I really dislike a lot, a couple which are okay, and then a few have grown on me. So certainly not absolutely terrible, but still my least favorite from the 80s. So just showing you the album quickly. So there's the cover. Yep, some credits in there. The disc. And in these reissues, they tell the story behind each album, so that's pretty cool as well. But yeah, not an absolutely atrocious album, yet still my least favorite 80s Kiss album, and probably least favorite Kiss album in general, so that's Kiss with the Elder. All right, now coming in at number 7. This one might shock some people. This one I have on vinyl. Sorry everyone, but coming in at number 7 is Crazy Nights from 1987. So some of you, if you're Kiss fans, are probably going, huh, what? How could you say that? It's a brilliant album. Yes, I will say this. I do really appreciate the musical talent on this album, like the technicality and the flair for playing and the vocal abilities, they're fantastic. My main issue with this album is I just don't particularly like the songs themselves all that much, although there are a couple of exceptions. So this is from the, this album was from 1987, as I said, so this was from the lineup which featured Gene, Paul, Eric Carr, and now Bruce Kulick on guitar, who's a brilliant guitar player, like absolutely awesome lead guitarist. However, it was released in 1987, which was the peak of the band's glam hair metal period. Nothing wrong with that again, but you may recall that 1987, 1988, that's when glam and hair metal sort of reached the peak in the cheesesteaks, let's say. And this album just sounds very MTV, made for music television, and it's got that very kind of 80s flavor, which I do like the 80s, but in that kind of like really overly cheesy way, in my opinion. However, having said that, the band was deliberately doing that because they wanted a successful hit like Ozzy had with Shot in the Dark, so they used the same producer, Ron Nevison, to produce his album. So it's very slick and polished, nothing wrong with that. But I just think it's maybe, I don't know, just overdone a little bit and very MTV and very cheesy. That's all I'll say about it. But having said that, again, there are some redeeming songs. Let's just go through it. Like Crazy Crazy Nights, I've never been a fan of that song, generally speaking, because I think it's a little bit depressing and overly 80s sounding. However, I do like the pre-chorus. I'll Fight Hell to Hold You, a bit of a headache with Paul's falsetto vocals. However, I do like the chorus. So you can see the first 2 tracks don't grab me that much. The third track, Bang Bang You, that's probably the first really good track on the album to me. It's a mid-pace crunching rocker. Great vocal abilities from Paul, and I really like some of the lyrics in that song, you know, like they're cheesy but funny, like my love is like a cannonball, I'll take an aim and you're gonna fall. And also the chorus, bang bang you, I'll shoot you down with my love gun, baby. So paying tribute to the 70s album there. No 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 is a Gene song, which is a very sort of off the wall, offbeat kind of fast song, like a bit metallic actually. So that's cool because it's experimental. Like I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite tracks, but it's still good. Hell or High Water is all right. It's got a good catchy chorus. Now the song My Way, I've never liked that song because it's very synth heavy. And nothing wrong with that in itself, but it just sounds like the soundtrack to some, I don't know, some spiritual people meeting up for a yoga gathering or something like that. So it does just, yeah, it never grabbed me. It's a little bit cheesy, although I will say it does really showcase Paul's vocal abilities once again. So you see what I mean, hopefully already, that you know, the technical ability on these songs is really good. I just don't like a lot of the songs that much. When Your Walls Come Down, again, that's an okay track. Reason to Live, that's one of my favorite tracks on the album. Yes, it is a power ballad, but it's not cheesy. It's very emotional and powerful and atmospheric. They do use synths in that song, but I just love it. And again, Paul's vocals are absolutely fantastic. Good Girl Gone Bad, that's not a bad song, like a catchy Gene song, sort of mid-paced and crunching, but it showcases that his ability to do those kind of softer vocals, like not growling like a monster all the time, which is cool. And Turn on the Night, that was another big hit single from this album, so that's really good, even if it's a bit cheesy and 80s, but it really displays Bruce Kulick's absolutely flawless lead guitar abilities. He plays with so much dexterity and fluidity, it's absolutely amazing. Just seems to wail it effortlessly. He makes it look and sound so easy, but it bloody well isn't. But yeah, Turn on the Night, absolutely fantastic song. And it's got a few keyboards in there. And as I mentioned in a recent video, Thief in the Night, the closing track, is my favorite because it's more like a dark heavy metal song with Gene, the demon, on vocals, even though he's not really the demon anymore without the makeup. But yeah, just dark and heavy, and it's got an absolutely kick-ass heavy haunting guitar solo from Bruce Kulick. So you can see what I mean. I don't find this an absolutely terrible album, but there's just albums that I like more. I just find this album a bit overly 80s and cheesy in a lot of sections, but probably my favorite songs would be Bang Bang You, Reason to Live, Turn on the Night, and Thief in the Night. So yeah, that's number 7 from 1987, Kiss's Crazy Nights. All right, now coming in at number 6, we go back to the beginning of the decade. This is Kiss with Unmasked from 1980. Now you will see from the cover here that it shows that it's got that famous comic strip artwork. So this is when the band still featured the original lineup, or so it seemed. So yeah, it's got Paul, Ace, Gene, and Peter, but in actual fact on this album, Peter had already been fired from the band, Peter the Catman, so he was replaced not by Eric Carr on this album, but Anton Fig, the ghost drummer for this album. And yeah, so this was the first album of the decade, dawn of the 1980s. And is it a bad album? Not at all. I actually really like it. What's interesting about this is this was released just 1 year after Dynasty, which is the famous or infamous album which featured I Was Made for Loving You, the disco song. But what the band did with this album, they wanted more of that fame. They even admitted it, so they were chasing more commercial success. So as a result, this album is very poppy. But it's not really a pop album, it's more like hard rock combined with slick power pop. And the results are actually quite good a lot of the time. Like produced by Vinnie Poncia, who also produced Dynasty. So it's got that slick and polished sound. So the sound quality is fantastic. And a lot of good songs, but I can see why Die-Hard fans wouldn't like it that much because a lot of it is very poppy. But it doesn't really matter in my opinion, like a good song is a good song. Yeah, like the opening track, Is That You? Absolutely fantastic. But the ballad Shandy, I've never liked that song much. It's just a very sappy, dreary, sad song. Like when I first heard it, I thought, oh, that's like a nostalgic, reminiscent of the 80s. But no, I've never liked that song, Shandy. Talk to Me is a song performed by Ace, and that's absolutely brilliant. Again, a bit poppy, but catchy and great guitar solo in that. Yeah, Naked City, a Gene song, that's okay. What Makes the World Go Round, I think, is that the song? Yeah, it's got great bass lines from Gene. And again, kind of a little bit reminiscent of the disco era, but it sort of makes you imagine Queens, New York in the early 80s, which is probably exactly what that was. Tomorrow, not bad, a kind of love song. It's okay. Two Sides of the Coin is another Ace song. Very full of energy, very upbeat and fun. And of course, Ace's lead guitar playing on this album is absolutely brilliant. She's So European, that was another single, very poppy. It's okay, but I'm not the biggest fan. Easy As It Seems is good, got some atmospheric synths in that. Torpedo Girl, that's another Ace song. It's kind of catchy, but it's also a bit silly, so it's not one of my favorite Ace songs, but certainly not bad, and Ace's vocals are fantastic. And then the closing track, You're All That I Want, that's a Gene song. Again, to me, that's one of those kind of insipid, nothing Kiss songs. It's there, but it's not really one you remember all that much. But yeah, some really good stuff on this. So a lot of people hate this album, but I don't. I think it's really good. But just there are albums that I like more, once again. So probably my favorite songs on this, just to recap, Is That You, Talk to Me, Two Sides of the Coin, Easy As It Seems is one that's grown on me. Yeah, so probably my 4 favorites there. But again, the whole album is listenable. So there's the album cover, so it shows a picture of the band. What's interesting is this album's called Unmasked, but at the time they still wore the makeup. So it's an ironic title, I suppose. And cool cover art though, I do like that one. And then, so it shows the picture of the band with masks on, taking their masks off, but they still have the paint. And what have we got in here? Oh yeah, cool mini poster there. Yeah. And once again, this is just the reissue series, so you've got the disc here and the background of this particular album. So yes, is it a pop album? I wouldn't say so. I'd say it's like a hard rock crossed with power pop, but it does produce some interesting and good songs, so give it a chance. That's Kiss with Unmasked from 1980. All right, coming in at number 5 now, Hot in the Shade from 1989. What's funny about this album is, so this was the last album from the decade, and in the early days I never thought much of this album, but it's one of those albums that's slowly grown on me. So I assumed initially that this would be towards the bottom of my ranking, but actually it's at number 5, so just past halfway. Very underrated album. Now, this was released in 1989, so the band, just after Crazy Nights, so the band had sort of overcome their glam phase and they went back to sort of basic black leather look and everything, but it's about the music that counts. Yeah, this is a very good album, and it produced 3 massive hits, which were Rise to It, Forever, and Hide Your Heart, all really good songs. This was sort of the band returning to their hard rock roots after the backlash from Crazy Nights, because a lot of people thought it was too poppy and commercial. The only problem with this album is it's a bit overdone. So it has 15 songs, which is quite a lot for a mainstream rock album. So like Dokken's Back for the Attack, I just think there's a lot of fat on this that could have been trimmed down. But having said that, I don't really find any songs absolutely terrible, but there's just a few maybe they could have cut out. And what one critic described this album was as a 3 singles and 12 pieces of crap. I think that's a bit harsh, but you can tell that a lot of the songs are sort of demo quality, so they weren't really developed because maybe they were trying to put too much in. But having said that, I really enjoy the album. Like again, I don't dislike any songs. There are just a couple of songs where, as I said, they're a bit kind of like, there's a lot of good songs or okay songs, but not as many great songs. So like some of those tracks that I'm talking about where I think they're just okay to good, they would be ones like Betrayed, Prisoner of Love, Cadillac Dreams, The Street Giveth and the Street Taketh Away, Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell. Most of those are Gene songs, and nothing against him because I think his voice is absolutely fantastic, but I think a lot of those songs, they're just okay to good, but not effing brilliant, you know what I mean? But yeah, the opening track, Rise to It, is a great energetic single, so you can see why that was released as a single for sure. Yeah, Hide Your Heart, probably the best song on the album, as I've mentioned before in response to Scott's question during my questionnaire. Like, yeah, just a very powerful song, good vocal melodies, amazing lead guitar from Bruce Kulick once again. Now the song Read My Body, a lot of people think that song is absolutely terrible, and I can understand why, because it's sort of, a lot of people say it's like venturing into rap with Paul's vocals, rap or, yeah, but not really, it's more just sort of spoken word, but I have to agree, those verses where he's kind of semi-rapping, they do sound pretty bad. However, I love the chorus of Read My Body, like it's just very uplifting and catchy and melodic, and I know a lot of people think the lyrics are cheesy, but I find them great. Like the chorus goes, read my body, other letters big enough, read my body, do you like the look of my love, read my body, turn the page, get to the good stuff. I just think that's classic and hilarious in a good way. So Read My Body, I do like it. Love's a Slap in the Face is a good song as well, even though it's just got that kind of lazy chorus after, like the na 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 na, but like, yeah, I do like, the songs Gene wrote on this are really good. Now, Forever is the power ballad, co-written with Michael Bolton. I'm not a massive fan of that song because I don't really like love songs or ballads, but still, you can see the talent in that song. King of Hearts is an underrated Paul song, like got a good atmosphere in that, and I love the harmonized vocals. And I miss, oh my God, Silver Spoon, possibly my favorite song on the album. That's a Paul song. Just listen to the guitar lines in that song. Absolutely brilliant and atmospheric. Criminally underrated Kiss track, Silver Spoon, check it out. And What's the other really good Paul song on this? Yeah, You Love Me to Hate You. Like that one and Silver Spoon are probably my two favorite songs on the album, actually. And the second last track, Little Caesar, that features drummer Eric Carr on vocals. Of course, you know, the original drummer, Peter Criss, he sang quite a few songs back in the 70s, but sadly, this is the only song which featured new drummer Eric Carr on lead vocals, and it's a shame because he's such a great singer, and I really love that song. Fantastic chorus, and Eric's got such a great voice, so Little Caesar, I really like that song. And the album closes with Boomerang, which is a sort of fast, heavy, thrashy track, and I really like Gene's vocals in that. So yeah, good album, underrated. Like I said, a lot of people say this album is a sort of demo quality, but there are a lot of really catchy songs, and like I said, even the songs which I just find okay to good, they're still catchy. So I listened to this album from beginning to end. In fact, yesterday I listened to this album while I was cleaning the house, and yeah, you know, holding the mop, singing my heart out. Sorry, true confession time, welcome to my life. But yes, it was really good. So yes, good album and quite underrated. Yeah, so that's Kiss with Hot in the Shade, coming in at number 5 from 1989. All right, now coming into the top half, we've got 4 more albums to go. And these ones get pretty close, but coming in at number 4, we have Animalize from 1984. So this is when the band sort of commenced their glam or hair metal phase, which I think lasted from 84 to 87. So this album, Asylum and Crazy Nights. But yeah, this one, Animalize, it's a very metallic album. So if you're a metal fan but you don't like Kiss, I would recommend checking this out. Now it featured Gene, Paul, Eric Carr, of course, but new guitarist Mark Norton, otherwise known as Mark St. John. He replaced Vinnie Vincent, who was fired after the release of the previous album. But yeah, Mark St. John only lasted on this album because after that he developed tendinitis in his arms, so he couldn't play anymore, which is a shame because he was a brilliantly talented guitarist. Like, he could play shredding metallic guitar leads, but I think the band was a bit hard on him because Gene said, oh, his guitar solos just sound like an angry bee. Well, why did you record him then? And Paul also said Mark, for all his talent, could not play the same thing twice. So he's one of those whittlesome people that played lots of notes but didn't have consistency, perhaps. But having said that, I love the guitar solos on this album, and I think Mark St. John is a very talented guitarist. Allegedly, Bruce Kulick, who was his eventual replacement, recorded some of this, but what songs and what parts of songs, who knows? But in any event, a good, solid album. Compared to Hot in the Shade, this is much more consistent and condensed. Like, not a whole lot of fat on this that needs to be trimmed, not a lot of filler tracks, which is good. Like, I've Had Enough, Into the Fire, the opening track, very fast and aggressive, brilliant guitar solos. I love that. The single from this album was Heaven's on Fire, which I used to really love that song. I do think it's a bit cheesy, but it is a fun song, and the main riff in it is so catchy, so I love that. Good video clip as well. Track 3, Burn Bitch Burn. A lot of people don't like that song, but I really enjoy it. I really like the chorus. It's just very catchy and atmospheric, and a lot of people criticize Gene's cheesy lyrics in that, like, what was that line? Oh babe, I want to put my log in your fireplace, but I just find that really funny. And then the next song, Get All You Can Take, very good, catchy song, especially with the chorus. Now, a lot of people don't like Lonely as the Hunter, but I really like that because it's got a good strut and groove, and Gene's vocals, again, I've mentioned this before, Gene was probably my favorite vocalist of the band, even though I don't think he had the best ability, but just the sound of his voice I like the most, and some atmosphere in that song, Lonely as the Hunter, and it's catchy. Under the Gun is a really fast, like, thrashy metallic song, so like, again, if you're a metalhead, you might like that song, Under the Gun. Amazing guitar solos in that, and there are some kind of cheesy lyrics in it, like, you know the part just before the guitar solo. I'm not going to say it because I just not. Yeah, but I also like the bit when they have the fire and they're shouting out, and then Paul does the, come on boys, and they all do the backing vocals really good. So Under the Gun is a good song. Thrills in the Night was the other single from this, and it's not one of my favorite songs, but it is catchy, especially the vocal melodies in the chorus. And While the City Sleeps, another Gene song, catchy enough. Now, the only song that's probably like a throwaway on this album and a filler song is the last track, Murder in High Heels. Again, not a terrible song, but just not that interesting. One of those kind of insipid, boring Kiss songs. And yeah, the chorus is just spoken by Gene, so he's like, That's why my brother came up with this, but we call it, instead of Murder in High Heels, we call it Murder in No Effort. Because like Gene's like, she's murder in high heels. So it's like I'm not even trying to sing there, but it is a good song. The lead guitar work in that song is absolutely brilliant, shredding and melodic. So yeah, no bad tracks on this album, apart from maybe just Murder in High Heels, but it does have its redeeming qualities. But my favorite songs on this album would be I've Had Enough, Into the Fire, Burn Bitch Burn, Get All You Can Take, Lonely as the Hunter, Under the Gun, and Thrills in the Night. So most of the album, yeah. So, good comeback album after the firing of Vinnie Vincent. It's just a shame that it didn't last long because Mark had to quit after this album. So, just showing you the booklet here, portraits of the band, all of the lyrics. And I wish I could read that line to you, but the print is so small and my eyesight's bad. Look at this picture here. So, in sort of an apocalyptic city, maybe they were influenced by Motley Crue because Shout at the Devil had come out. I think so. There we go, there's the disc. And history of the album once again. Yep, so very good album, very solid, and it's quite metallic, so for metal fans you should check it out and give it a chance. That's coming in at number 4, Kiss with Animalize. And by the way guys, I know I didn't show the insert and the booklet for Hot in the Shade, but it's actually pretty boring. Like the disc is just a plain silver disc and it's just black and white credits, so that's why I left that out. Okay, but anyway, now coming into the top 3, so we're getting into the really good stuff now. So coming in at number 3, from 1985, is Asylum. So you can see here from the clothing that they're wearing and the lipstick and makeup on the front, this is when the band was still going through their glam metal phase. So it started with Animalize, I think, then this album and Crazy Nights. Yeah, I absolutely love this album. A lot of Kiss fans say that this is god-awful and terrible. I completely disagree. I think it's got some really fun, energetic, metallic songs. Like, yes, it's embracing the hair metal, glam metal culture, but unlike a lot of those hair metal bands, it doesn't have those screechy, high-pitched vocals. It's sort of like Kiss doing their own interpretation of glam and hair metal, and they do it really well. Again, this album's pretty much all killer, no filler. Like King of the Mountain, what a way to start the album, like a call to battle with really amazing vocals from Paul, and it's just very 80s sounding and anthemic. It's fantastic. Any Way You Slice It, track 2 is a Gene track, and I really love the chugging riffs in that, and Gene's vocal melodies again. Great chorus, and absolutely brilliant shredding guitar solo from Bruce Kulick in that. Who Wants to Be Lonely was the single from this, and that's got a kind of Bon Jovi-esque chorus, you know, with the whoa kind of lyrics, but, lyrics are like vocals, but it's very, very catchy, and I love there's a few tasty licks and guitar riffs, and the solo is absolutely brilliant in that. So Who Wants to Be Lonely was a great single. Trial by Fire has a kind of AC/DC vibe in terms of the main riff, but it's a bit more sort of happy, like it's a kind of feel-good song. Not one of my favorite ones, but I do still like it a lot. That's sung by Gene. And I'm Alive, that's another like fast, energetic, metallic song sung by Paul, I think. Yeah, and I think, is that the line? Yeah, I love, again, some cheesy glam metal lines in this, but I love the line in I'm Alive. One pretty girl makes you feel pretty good, two's even better. Okay, then we go over to side 2. Love's a Deadly Weapon. That's like a fast, aggressive song sung by Gene, and it's really good. And again, I like some of the lyrics in that song. Like, again, a bit cheesy, but just a good metaphor, I think. Like, love's a deadly weapon and murder's on my mind. Yeah, good stuff. Now, the other big single from this was Tears Are Falling. And I've always changed my opinion about that song. Like, at first I liked it, then I didn't. I thought it was a bit soppy and sappy. But then I listened to this the other day and I thought, no, it is a good song because it just has a good atmosphere and the vocals are catchy. Again, a fantastic solo by Bruce in that song, Tears Are Falling. Secretly Cruel, that's another Gene track, and again, it's just got that hard rock crunch and swagger, great vocal melodies from Gene. Radar for Love, one of my favorite tracks, and what I love about this album is it's kind of paying tribute to Led Zeppelin, particularly the song Black Dog, because you hear the riffing and Paul's vocals in the chorus. It's basically just a slight twist on Black Dog, but again, Paul changes the vocal melody slightly, but it's just a really fun song, and then of course the chorus is different, but yeah, Radar for Love, I absolutely love the riffage in that song, which is mimicking Black Dog, and also brilliant guitar solo once again. And the album closes with the fun track, All Night, which was another single from this. So, you know, don't need to explain what that song's about, but yeah, very catchy chorus. It's the strutting, and again, Bruce's guitar solo is fantastic, and I love the bit at the end where Paul's going, "You've got me running, you've got me running." But yeah, the lyrics in that song are hilarious as well. You know, like, when your body's been starved, feed your appetite. When you work all day, you gotta all night. Funny. See, some people take bands too seriously, like, that's silly, but to me it's funny in a classic way. But yeah, so again, this is a very metallic hair metal album, but slightly more polished, going in a pop direction. So like, Animalize was more metallic. This is sort of crossing over between metallic and poppy, and then Crazy Nights went poppy. But absolutely fantastic album. All killer, no filler, no bad songs. That's Kiss with Asylum from 1985, coming in at number 3. All right, so we're getting to the last two, guys, and thankfully this video hasn't gone for as long as I thought, but famous last words. These last two, or the first two, the top two, I should say, it was so close, and my opinion on it has wavered over the years about which is the best, but I'm talking about currently and what's been my view for a long time. They're both excellent albums, so it was really hard to decide, but coming in at a very, very close number 2 is Creatures of the Night from 1982. My God, what an album. This is absolutely fantastic. So, just to backtrack a bit, this was the album that was released after The Elder, you know, that pompous rock opera album, which totally bombed and alienated their fans. So after that, everyone was sick of Kiss, and then they decided to come back, returning finally to their hard rock and roll roots, and then this came out absolutely monstrous. Completely just heavy and thunderous, particularly thanks to Eric Carr's machine gun type drumming and just the drum sound they got on this album. Eric was of course much more of a metal drummer than, you know, minimalist Peter Criss, who was a very energetic drummer, but he was inspired more by jazz and soul, but Eric was more a hard rock drummer, used double bass drumming, and the tom sounds on this album, absolutely brilliant, thunderous and heavy. The songs are crunching, heavy and metallic, and just again very anthemic. There's nothing to dislike about this album. The production's perfect, it's not too polished, it's just heavy, but at the same time incredibly catchy. It's just such a good album. Like the opening song, the title track, Creatures of the Night, is good. I just love the drum fill which starts off that track. Like, it's got this powerhouse riff and a shredding guitar solo. It's like, all right, back in business, and such a good song. I really like the vocal harmonies in that too. Saint and Sinner is also a really good song. That's a song sung by Gene. Not one of my favorites on the album, but believe me, it's still very catchy, because again, this album is all killer, no filler. There's just some that I don't like as much as others, but yeah, Saint and Sinner, and I love the backing vocals in that when they do the woo kind of things, and the solo is good. Now, track 3, Keep Me Comin', a song sung by Paul. Fucking hell, that song is heavy as balls. Such a good riff, such a good vocal melody, particularly in the the vocals in the pre-chorus are just so catchy and infectious. I just love that. And yeah, again, great guitar solo. Rock and Roll Hell is a song that was sung by Gene, co-written with Bryan Adams, and it does have that kind of like dark 80s Canadian sound. Like, you can tell it was co-written by a Canadian. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know, but I just find, like, when I listen to Canadian bands, they do have a particular sound. But yeah, Rock and Roll Hell is really good. And then Bryan Adams recently released his own cover, and Ace Frehley did a cover of that song as well. Danger, one of my favorite tracks on the album for sure. And you know, the way it tumbles in with the drums and then the guitar melodies, it's very reminiscent of Alice Cooper's Schools Out, like that opening guitar lick. But oh, just Paul's vocals on that song. What a great singer and songwriter. I love the verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, absolutely everything about that song. The guitar solo is absolutely shredding. And oh, by the way, on this album, see, it features Ace Frehley on the cover, but he wasn't actually the guitarist for this album. I think they used about 5 guitarists. So this was when Ace had had enough and he was on his way out. So it also featured him and Vinnie Vincent, who was going to replace him on the next album, and then a few other session guitarists. So they didn't have a consistent guitarist. By the way, really cool cover art here, as I digress. Track 6, I Love It Loud. As Gene says, when they perform it live, you all know this one. Heavy track, like sort of like the drum beat mimics a bit like We Will Rock You, but the chordal patterns were actually influenced by The Who's My Generation. But I Love It Loud. It's one of my favorite Kiss songs. That's one of the first songs that ever got me into Kiss. When my younger brother played me this Kiss compilation, it was I Love It Loud and Lick It Up, which really stood out to me. So 80s over 70s actually. But yeah, I Love It Loud, great song, anthemic, shouty, catchy chorus, fantastic. I Still Love You. Okay, that's kind of a somber power ballad, but it's really good. I don't think it's overly cheesy, and Eric's drumming in that is just so thunderous and heavy, adding more emotion to the song, so I love that. And then it returns to a fun track with Killer from Gene. It's a very Gene song. I love his vocals in that. I love the upbeat speed of that song. It's absolutely fantastic. And then the song closes with War Machine, which is a crunching, heavy track. Now that seems to be a crowd favorite and a fan favorite. And I don't mind that song, but it's just not one of my favorites, I have to say. Like it is good, but I'm not a huge fan of the chorus, but the actual main riff in it is really good. So again, all killer, no filler. Just the only two tracks that I don't quite like as much are Saint and Sinner and War Machine. So favorite tracks: Creatures of the Night, Keep Me Coming, Rock and Roll Hell, Danger, I Love It Loud, I Still Love You, Killer. So most of the album, absolutely fantastic. Thunderous, heavy, and metallic. And it's a shame because the band came back with this killer album, but after they felt they had been deceived so many times with Dynasty, Unmasked, and The Elder, you know, 3 kind of dud albums in die-hard fans' opinions in a row, they just went, nah, fuck that, we're finished with Kiss. And it's a shame because this was a brilliant album, but it later got the recognition that it deserves. I love this cover art, and the coloring, absolutely fantastic. So great cover for a great album. Just got the credits and the lyrics on the inside. And again, the disc here, and of course, the album history. Yep, so that's coming in at number 2, a very close number 2. It used to be my number 1, but now it's eclipsed just by 1. So if you know the band, and if you've heard me talking on this channel, you know what's coming next. Yep, coming in at number 1, my favorite Kiss album of the 80s, and in fact my favorite Kiss album of all time, is Lick It Up from 1983. So this came out directly after Creatures of the Night 1982. This was 1983. So as you can see, the band took off the makeup because although this was a brilliant album, they weren't successful. So then they decided, oh, we need to revamp our look and, you know, start again. So they took off the makeup and they found what they thought was a permanent replacement in lead guitarist Vinnie Vincent. So Ace had permanently left by this point. What I love about this album is that it's just so energetic and so metallic. I think there are some songs, I know some people might disagree with me, which are bordering on speed metal or like heavy metal. Like this one, it's kind of heavy metal-y, but still sort of like heavy rock. But this one there are some super fast, energetic tracks, and I think that's a lot to do with new guitarist Vinnie Vincent. He had a fresh and fierce guitar technique, like much more of an 80s style. Like Ace is a brilliant guitarist as well, but he was playing those more sort of like classic 70s rock solos, but Vinnie was using a lot of 80s techniques, as was Bruce Kulick. So he wrote a lot of just like absolutely scorching, shredding leads, which make this sound just so fiery and metallic. It's absolutely brilliant, but at the same time, the songs are still catchy and anthemic and memorable, very much so. And it's interesting, like there's the really fast, energetic, metallic songs, and then there's sort of the slow, mid-paced, crunching songs, which are heavy. So, and sometimes over the top of that, there's a kind of poppy element, which makes the song catchy, but absolutely brilliant stuff. Like the opening track, Exciter, is really good. Paul's vocals are great in that. Track 2, Not for the Innocent, crunching song sung by Gene, great riffing in that song. Absolutely fantastic. Now the title track, Lick It Up, like I said, that's one of the first songs that got me into Kiss because it's very catchy and very 80s. Even though I've heard it a million times, I really do love it a lot. And I would recommend, if you've only heard that song live, listen to the studio version because it's much better. But yeah, Lick It Up, absolutely fantastic song. That's the only song to not feature a proper guitar solo actually, but it's got a kind of like lick or melody in the middle, lick. And then Young and Wasted is a very good song, another like hard crunching Gene song. Track 5, Gimme More, is a Paul song. This is what I'm talking about, where the songs get really fast and speed medley. So much energy in that particular song. And the lead from Vinnie Vincent in Gimme More, absolutely scorching, shredding, just ripping everything in half. Incredible. It just sounds fiery as fuck. I love the guitar solo in Gimme More. And incidentally, that has, you know, like Kiss's lyrics were always a bit silly and maybe a bit sexist, but just the funny rhyming. I like the lyric in that song, Gimme More, which is, love is sweet, so insane, come on, lick my candy cane. Because like, you know, unlike a lot of, you know, like hip hop bands wrote these kind of sexual lyrics, but always in this explicit way, or Steel Panther did that, and it's all just like crude and crass, but like the way Kiss did it, it was sort of like subtly in metaphors, and so that made it clever, I think. So that was really cool. Now track 6, All Hell's Breaking Loose, that was a song originally written by Eric Carr, but then co-written by the whole band. Very heavy, very anthemic. Yeah, it's sort of like an anthem for the early 80s, I think, and really love the chorus, especially when they say rock the nation. Yeah, very memorable chorus in that song. Now, A Million to One is a good sort of somber, atmospheric track, but it's still heavy. And what I love about that is it's got, especially the opening riff, it's got such a 1980s flavor and feel, but not in a cheesy way. See, this was 83, so the band was not doing glam. This was just early 80s heaviness. Now, Fits Like a Glove. That's my other favorite song on the album, I'd have to say. That's a Gene song. Again, like Gimme More, it's fast and energetic and thrashy. And the main riff in it is so good, you know, the oh, it's so catchy. And I love the pre-chorus in that song, like the way they sing it. And again, some funny lyrics like, baby, baby, guess you win the prize. Baby, baby, where the sun never shines. And yeah, and then, you know, it also has that like sort of infamous sexist line in it. But you know, when Gene says, like a hot knife through butter, when he says butter, he holds that note for so long, like, butter. And like, it goes for 30 seconds or something, it turns into this scream, and then it's followed by this absolutely shredding guitar solo from Vinnie Vincent. And then I love the bit at the end where they go back to the main riff, and there's interludes of brief scorching leads from Vinnie. Absolutely fantastic. Dance All Over Your Face is a really good song as well. A lot of people say that is a filler song, but I love Gene's vocals in it, especially where the part where he says, I told you once and I told you twice. And the album concludes with And on the Eighth Day, which is just a strutting rock song, feel-good rock song from Gene. Absolutely perfect. So do I dislike any songs on this album? No, absolutely not. It's absolutely brilliant. So just showing you the cover here. So it's got Gene sticking his tongue out there to show that it's still Kiss, I suppose. And yeah, all of the lyrics, so quite minimal is this one, just white disc. Yeah, and of course the history of the album. Incidentally, it's funny, like the band themselves don't really like this album, or at least Gene and Paul don't, but I really do. And as I said, it spawned, well, the main hit it spawned was Lick It Up, but there's also All Hell's Breaking Loose. And interestingly, Vinnie Vincent co-wrote 8 of these 10 songs. So coincidence? I think not. I think Vinnie brought a lot to the band. It's just a shame that he was an unstable person who didn't really fit in, and that's why they had to get rid of him in the end. Like, you know the stories. But no denying his musical talent on this. So I love all songs on this, but what are my absolute favorite songs? That's really hard, but I would definitely say my top 2 are Gimme More and Fits Like a Glove, but I also really like All Hell's Breaking Loose, Dance Over Your Face, On the Eighth Day, Not for the Innocent. Yeah, absolutely fantastic stuff. So coming in at number 1, my favorite 80s Kiss album, and my favorite Kiss album of all time, Lick It Up. Right, that's it guys. So I thought I was going well for time, but I had a fear that this one might go on for about 45 minutes, but I'm going to edit a little bit in post. Sorry, I can't help but talk about it in detail when I feel passionate about it. So that's it. So anyway, let me know in the comments, what's your ranking? What do you think of Kiss? What do you think of these albums? But like I said, even if you're one of those people who dislikes Kiss, but you like metal, I would suggest checking a lot of these albums out, particularly Lick It Up, Creatures of the Night, Animalized, and Asylum. So that's metalhead homework if you haven't heard those albums. But yeah, like I said, I don't think a lot of people are going to care about this video because I didn't get a very good response from my last one, because I think a lot of people don't like Kiss. But like I said, hopefully you take something away from this video today and give them a chance, especially those Metallic albums. But yeah, none of these albums I dislike. It's just like an order of which ones I like more, I suppose. But anyway, enough rambling, fuck that shit. All right, I might come back with yet one more video this week, but it depends how time goes. But thank you so much for watching if you made it through to the end, and congratulations. And I hope you learned something from this video. So it would be great to hear from you guys in the comments about what you think of these albums, what you think of Kiss. yeah, let's get some discussion going. But anyway, I will let you go now if you're still here. So take care, thanks for your support of the channel, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.